In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. I am still on page 4 because these pages are the important pages, and the course is in fact difficult for you to understand without my in fact lecturing. Okay, so please pay careful attention to what I say. When you read the book, actually you find the book is in fact you find the book to be very difficult. So we have to understand what I say. Well, going to page 4, we want to say relating sounds and meanings. What is the use of language? What do we do with language? We want to produce sounds. Look at me. Look at my, in fact, mouth. We make sounds and we put sounds in it. So we relate two things together, sounds and meaning. Okay? Sound and meaning. What are these? These are, in fact, pens. Okay? We make a sound and we mean something. Sound, meaning. Sound, meaning. Okay? What is, let's say, well, I have got something like a teapot here. Okay? This is a teapot. I produce something like a sound teapot. Okay? And we mean something which is like a teapot. Okay? This is my nawara. Okay? We call it glasses in English. We call it aynaki in Farsi. We call it, let's say, nawara in Arabic. Okay? In Arabic. Now, there is a kind of meaning with the word glasses. There is a kind of meaning with respect to this kind of thing, which we call it in Arabic as nawara. So we relate two things together. Suppose I've got an apple. We say apple, apple, or tufaha, tufaha, rumman. Say, I say something, sound, and I mean something, apple, tufah, rumman. Okay? This is language. We want to understand what we mean by these kind of things. So, the first thing that maybe it is important on page 4 is to go to, in fact, line 2. Well, line 2 of, in fact, page 4, relating sounds to meanings. Line 2 says, the major concern is always the mind. Inside, in fact, our bodies, there's something called mind, and inside this part, there's something called brain. We don't want to talk about brain, we want to say mind. Mind is a bigger thing than the brain itself, okay? When we say, let's say mind, we are talking about everything. Anyway, so line 1, 2, 3, 4, line 4 of page 4 says, language is seen as something in the individual mind, of every human being. So when you look at somebody, you don't know how many languages he knows. Okay? You have to go inside the mind, which is difficult to go inside. And you find that this person has got 2, 3 languages. Okay? This is the story of language, the story of Chomsky. Chomsky talks about mind, Chomsky talks about language. Well, there's in fact, going to page 5, you have something like page 5, sentence 5, sentence number 5, رقم 5, okay? The moon shone through the trees. I produced sounds, and it is an English sound, it is English sounds, and there is something like the meaning. The moon shone on the trees. Okay? We do the same thing in Japanese. Let us go to sentence 6. If I say something like this, of course I don't know Japanese, but this is the sentence in the book. And we have got English Arabic sentences in the book as well. We are going to, in fact, go to those pages as well. Look. Ohayo gozaimasu. What does it mean? Ohayo gozaimasu. It means good morning in Japanese. Again, the same thing. We produce sounds. We produce sounds. And we understand it. Sentence 6 is quite difficult for you because you have never seen the sentence, you have never seen the language, you have never seen somebody talking about the language, so you don't know about that language. But what happens is if I say something like Sabahul Khair, Sabahul Khair, you understand it. Why? Because you're Arab students. Okay, so what do we do? If you actually want to know what we do, it is something like page 5, figure 1.2. Figure 1.2 says something. There are two sides. There is one side, sound to the left, and there's another thing to the right, the meaning. We want to relate sound to the meaning. Relate sound to the meaning. This is the story of language. Okay? So to the left side, we have the sounds which are outside the mind. Physical, external. Physical world. To the left of figure 1.2, you see E, which means external, physical world sounds. So they go out and reach your ears. Okay? Now, what happens next? Inside the ears, we have got something like the brain and like the mind. The brain actually works out to understand the meaning of what we mean by Sabahul Khair. Okay, good morning. Okay, where? Internal, to the right. To the right of page 5, figure 1.2. Mental world. It's the mental world. So, language is something like that, relating sound to meaning. Okay? Well, so let us go to continue with this relation between sound and meaning. If you actually go to figure 1.3, below page 5, you have got something like this. Well, what happens here? Again, we have the same thing as figure 1.2, no difference. Figure 1.3 is more complete. Figure 1.2 is good. But when you look at figure 1.3, we see it is, in fact, more complete. The only thing that is added to figure 1.3 is something like this. Well, we say relating sounds to the meaning is done by a kind of system, nizam. Okay, it is done by something like nizam in Farsi or nizam in I suppose in, well, Arabic. I don't know whether I'm sure we can call it the system as a nizam or not, because I'm not a native speaker of Arabic. Okay, yes. Well, so there are there is something added. A system is added. So to take care of sounds and meanings at the same time. Okay? Well, let us call it computational system. A system which is computational. Okay? Of course, computational here doesn't mean a computer. Doesn't mean a laptop. It doesn't mean a cell phone. It doesn't mean something like that. It means there is a kind of system which works. It is something like hasub. It is like something like hasub, but it is never something like hasub. Okay? It is something inside us. Okay? It is not in the form of, let's say, a chip, which is available in the computers. Okay, so let us call it computational system. Well, this computational system is different from the computers or hasubs. Going to the next page. If you actually go to the next page with figure 1.4, you see again the same thing. Figure 1.4. What is figure 1.4? Again, it is the same as figure 1.3 and figure 1.2. No difference. Some things are added to make it more complex, more understandable, etc., etc. So, you see there are two types of things. Again, sounds to the left, meanings to the right. And in the middle part, in the central part, you have the computational system. Okay, there are two, in fact, levels of things in our minds. There are two interfaces. Sound interface and meaning interface. No difference. So, figure 1.4 is the same as the easiest one, figure 1.2. Okay? And finally, if you actually go to page 7, you see the same system as figure 1.2, repeated as figure 1.3, repeated as figure 1.4, and now it's here, figure 1.5. We say that the sounds are taken care of by phonetic forms. I actually produce sounds. And to the right, we have page 7, we have logical form. Sometimes we call it as short forms, PF and LF. Phonetic form and logical form. Logical form means meaning, and phonetic form means sound. Okay, what is language? Language is a kind of relationship between sound and meaning, phonetic form and logical form. Okay, this is what we mean by what is there out there on page 7. Okay, let us go to page 8 and finish it as soon as possible. Well, page 8 says something like this. Okay, look at page 8, sentence 8 and 9 and 10. First of all, sentence 8 on page 8. It's right opposite the church. It's right opposite the church. It's right opposite the church. Okay? 9. It's right opposite the church. 10. It's right opposite the church. Do you understand that there are two types of meanings here? I am going to repeat it once more. If you actually look at sentence 8, sentence 8 is well, has got two types of meanings. Not because of the words, because of the structure, because of the order, because of the structure, because of the syntax, because of the grammar. Not because there are two types of meanings. Okay? When you say it's opposite the church, that's got two meanings. What are the two meanings? 9 and 10. 9 and 10. When we say it's right opposite the church, as sentence 9 is something, and right opposite the church as 10 something else. So it is two types of meanings. Okay? Well, you actually have to go and understand the two differences. Okay? Sentence A is then ambiguous. Ambiguous. A-M-B. A-M-B. G-U-O-U-S. Let me write it for myself because I think that there is a kind of mistake. A-M-B-G-B-M-B-U-S. Well, it is something like this. A-M-B-I-G-U-O-U-S. Ambiguous. Ambiguous. Sentence 8 is ambiguous. Sentence 9 is one meaning of it, and sentence 10 is another. There are two types of meanings there. Okay? Sentence 8 has got two types of meanings. Sentence 9 and 10. Okay? We call them as ambiguous, where they've got two meanings. One meaning is something like this. It's exactly like the next line after the next line, the line below sentence 9. It means it's right opposite the church, means exactly opposite the church. Okay? Exactly opposite the church. And 10. It's right opposite the church. 10. It means turn right when you're opposite the church. There are two types of meanings. Well, when we want to talk about language, we have to talk about these two differences. What is what? What is that? What is a sentence like 8 has got two types of structure. Because it has got two types of structure, there are two types of meanings. Okay? Two types of meanings. Why? Because there are two types of structure. And there are sentences like 8 with one linear order, with one line order, one word after another, with two meanings, which we call them as ambiguous. Okay, so we have to talk about ambiguity as well. Thank you very much.